different organizations also receiving personal protective equipment. The Premier thanked Alberta for its help as well. That there's a glimmering light at the end of the tunnel. The federal government, meanwhile, now shifting its focus to seniors as more and more disturbing stories are coming out of long-term care homes in this country where staff have walked off the job. And coming up after sports, the Toronto and Region Conservation Authority has issued a warning about potential flooding across the GTA. 680 News Time, 150.
I told you! Flooding!
And time now for sports, and from Sportsnet 590 The Fan, here's Andrew Nye.
Hey, Cam, the Chicago Bulls have made more front office changes. GM Gar Forman is out after 10 years in the role and 22 years in the organization. The Bulls reached the playoffs in 7 of his 10 seasons as general manager. Meanwhile, the NBA has reportedly come up with a 25-day program to get players ready for a potential return. According to ESPN, players would hold individual workouts for 11 days and then, if allowed, 2 weeks of training camp. NBA Commissioner Adam Silver has already said nothing will be decided by May. NASCAR has suspended 27-year-old Kyle Larson indefinitely after the Chip Ganassi driver used the N-word last night during a live stream of an racing event. Rafael Nadal, Andy Murray, and Canada's Eugenie Bouchard are among a dozen.
Oh, they didn't repeat the story this time. There's a story to that.
Open at the end of the month. And former NFL quarterback Tavares Jackson has died in a car accident. It happened last night in Alabama. He was just 36. Sports at 15 and 45 past every hour. Or
just 36, buddy.
.ca/5daddy.
680 News Time.
Second, I'm thinking, yeah, that's pretty young. I know how old I am.
Sleep tight.
All right. I know what this is. We're going to find out.
Night-night.
And I got 2 of
See you in the
these.
morning. Tomorrow's a new day. No matter how you say it, checking in on someone to say goodnight can go a long way right now. So before
in the trap, in the skill, by the guns, so make sure you got with the bills. I run at you like a maniac with a pencil, fuck the trigger finger, because killing you simple. A psychopath soul to a brain will laugh. Somebody better hold him down because he's about to attack. They tell me to relax, just up and take a breath. But the only way I'll get better is by witnessing your death. You can't stop me, motherfucker, from getting to you. Ain't got no armor on my chest, but that's what get through your crew. These drugs they have me on aren't affecting my brain, but the anger that I'm feeling is causing me pain. I'm coming for you. And there is nowhere to run. And when we meet face to face, you know it won't be no
it's
fun.
purple!
Can't you feel it's close? Even if I die before you, you'll still be harassed on the ghost. I'll get you any way I can, whether you wake or asleep. Just wanna see you die before I'm fucking dead in the streets. It's on now, we made a murder of life. All the fakes perpetrating, living lies in your life. All the buster-ass kids in the trap in the skill. By the gun and we'll make sure you die for the bills. It's on now, we made a murder of life. All the fakes perpetrating, living lies in your life. All the buster-ass kids in the trap in the skill. Live by the gun and make sure you die for the bills. I don't snatch chains like
The bite out of it, damn it! They give me a heart cookie with a bite out of it.
I don't write tracks like put one note.
I couldn't make that up, man.
You call it a poem.
Because they bit it before they cooked it.
With the silencer pointed at your dome. I'm for you, the last call home. One of the sickens, clapping at chickens till the bitch stops flicking. Toss it aside and grab the next teeter up the ride. Always down for homicide when the feet collide. I got enough to provide for all the haters that duck and hide. The quickest on the slide, go make sure your two brakes tied and stay inside. A bullet hitting the temple, less battery should be elemental. Soothe me, keep me gentle, not consumed by thinking of ways to fuck up your dental. Record me for an instrumental. It's on now, we made a murder of life. All the fakes perpetrating, living lies in your life. All the buster-ass kids. It's on now, we made a murder of life. All the fakes perpetrating, living lies in your life. All the buster-ass kids in the trap in the skill. Live by the guns, so make sure you die for the bills. I'm a rapist of words, skillfully diligent hearts. Hate a shank and they tum-tum through the thick of they shirt. Perfected linguist with demonic linguistics. Leave a pentagram life and I don't really give a shit. So cynically simple, ask forgiveness for being. But ain't nobody giving two shits about my state of being. I pepper shots from drive-bys on a Catholic school. Getting streams of boom blast from the ticks of my tools. No escaping the heart and grip from the frozen heart in my chest. I flex a step and stat, next in the short of a set. You push me, I push beyond the limits of pushing back. The veteran cat, desensitized from the fiends in the act. The world's falling apart, ain't no one here to help you stand. We all been into the conversation from the simple man. It's getting worse. It comes again from the start. Figure your way out or come and draw me up in the dark. It's on now, we made a murder of life. All the fakes perpetrating, living lies in your life.
Why not? We'll see the teacher first, right?
We'll make sure you die for the bills. It's on now, we made a murder of life. All the fakes perpetrating, living lies in your life. All the buster-ass kids in the trap in by the guns, so make sure you die for the bills. It's on now. Committed murders on ice. For all you fakes perpetrating, living lies in your life. For all the busted ass kids in the
All I can think is, where did they get this tray? This is huge. Servings should be this big everywhere.
Committed murders on ice. For all you fakes perpetrating, living lies in your life. For all the busted ass kids in the trap in hill. Live by the guns, so make sure you die for the bills.
I'm on pace for it, but this came by a second harvest. I assume Little Caesars paid for it. All these things on the radio has been happening on the underground for a while. This is not new. They're turning food. They want to put food banks in the buildings. There's a drop point here for some reason.
Me and my nigga, cold up smoking fire shit. Me and my niggas, with this shit with some savage. Me and my nigga, stay with us so bad, bitch. Always smoking on gas with us. All the papers don't pass us. We ain't nothing like the mother gods. Fuck with us, you in for a surprise. Everything we got, all the papers you know we get. Smoking on medical, each individual. Just to get physical. Bad bitches additional. Bottom with us intentional. Just so you can see the visual. We get it to you, you run to my gang. All of the fucking shit. That shit will be clean space gang. That shit be the fall. You don't fall. Watch the street and never miss a beat. Lurking down the street. They coming, we coming, nigga. It's in the
Prophecy.
straight gas. And the hands is all successful. Nigga, come and get some gas. Straight loud. Then they know loud. Squad deep. Johnny team. Nigga on the scene. Tripping, leaving puddles. All over you niggas sleeping crumble. I roll up that gas. They feeling me check my swag. Niggas are sick of their dad, but that's me a pack trying to give me a bag. Gang tail on my chest, BBS diamonds on my neck. Only real running through my flesh. Let them nail running up my check. Yo, watch what I'm doing, can go with the movement. You know I'm in love with the mullah. Talking about money and speaking in fluent. Just listen to the mother school your snub. Get you a sack, don't fuck with a pack. Flip it and double it back. Happy your flip, happy your stash. Never spend all of your cash. Me and my niggas, cold up smoking fire shit. Me and my nigga, with this shit with some savage. Me and my nigga, stay with us some bad bitches. Always smoking on gas with us. All the papers don't pass us. We ain't nothing like the mother gods.
Made in USA.
What surprise. We ain't nothing like the mother gods.
Packed it. Like they pack things and they're active. So packed it. Not even joking.
Just so you can see the visual, we get it to you, you run to my gang. All of the fucking shit, that shit will be clean space gang. That shit be the fall, you don't fall, watch the street and never miss a beat. Lurking down the street, they be coming, we coming, nigga, it's in the prophecy.
This is for my haters up. Yeah, we got the greatest flow. Sipping on that medicine. You know we got that medical. Raven the young hood. Nigga with some hooligans. Raven the young hood. Nigga with some hooligans. This is for my haters up. Yeah, we got the greatest flow. Sipping on that medicine. You know we got that medical. Raven the young hood. Nigga with some hooligans. Raven the young hood. This is for my haters up. Yeah, we got the greatest flow. Sipping on that medicine. You know we got that medical. Raven the young hood. Nigga with some hooligans. Raven the young hood. Nigga with some hooligans. I know why I haters up. Yeah, we got that greatest flow. Sipping on that medicine. You know that shit is medical. Raven the young with some hooligans.
Mission boy, these rappers be tripping. Shit used to be cold, not cooking in the kitchen. Right/sunny, lifting, lane switching, steady dipping. I'm not here to play. I've been walking through hell. I'm not here to stay. You asking what I'm burning? Smoking blue my hand. Who are they? A bunch of haters with nothing so good to say. OC, MTL, spark this on your log. We bringing so much smoke, the streets catching all the fog. I ain't a pro, this my job. Fire behind the power, I'll devour like the mob. Everyone got a prop. Keep it humble in the meantime. You'll see why I gotta find a stink like I'm blowing up beehives. I've been chilling in the shadows, playing for battle, a kid to travel and then skedaddle. Go to meet the gavel, start giving me space. So if I get lucky with this money, then I'll be pulling that ace.
Pockets full of money and savings. I got weed. That was important. Hey, it's little and not little. I like that.
I be grinding, I'm on my grind, bro. And I be smoking on that killer that be that high, yo. But famous nigga, yeah, you know we getting high, yo. Smoking on that purple cause I don't fuck with that lean, though. Oh my god, killing shit like my name is Zod. Superman flying high like I'm in the fucking clouds. Red and black, got my back rolling, push straight up at the pack. And my O's are Cheerios.
Honey's not Cheerios.
You know we played it, man. Hit the pot, smoking niggas, bitches, they so extra shit. Suck a dick, you fucking bitch, I gotta hit the block at 6. I gotta chop, he need a fix. Phony ain't called that a 6. Sliding through the paddock quick, but some niggas talking shit.
That is one bud.
Yeah, that's my click.
Look at my head.
Next bitch, haters on that trolling shit.
Oh, motherfucker.
Nigga with some hooligans, nigga with some hooligans. And it's for my haters though.
Yeah, it's green on the outside. It's purple on the inside. The color-coded zipper seal. Thank you. We needed that technological innovation. This is not that big one. This is this one. I need more light. Oh, right. The last time I was using this, I kept the battery. Oh, that'd be bright enough.
If you rest the team dying on your set me out. Big shots, nigga, rep your block.
That was golden hairs with purple leaves and horns and shit.
3, 5, 7s and Mac 11s. Step and cock your weapon and start yelling if you rep 187. I got niggas in the front ready, you're ready to split you down the middle just like a blunt. So walk me down, 13 low will not forgive me for shaking up your kidney. Cause you faking and dizzy, my niggas lifty and shifty, pissy, Billy, Iggy, Shiggy. We don't give a wiggy, what really, Millie trying to kill the city like crack in the 80s. I'm ready to burn in 80s. My dog's infected with rabies, not even my father can fade me. You niggas is crazy. Fuck a fight and learn what these talents do. You could be as cuckoo as you are, I'm unbalanced too. Fixing the garden, I'm coming to rally you. Massacre splatter you, run you off of your avenue. While I laugh at you, demonic, dizzy, demented Rogers. My figment of the appearance, alias, run you off the district. If you rep the team, I know you set me high. Big shots, nigga, rep your block. Best be holding your tongue to bloody north with a
I can't adjust the brightness in this room. There's one nug. It's a bunch pressed together as far as I can tell this one. There might be some pressed together, but I think it's one. Oh, it is several pressed together. Okay. It's not compressed, it's just stuck. Money growing trees. The costumes on their knees, doing what we please in the middle of the night, like the birds and the bees and the raccoon eyes. I give a fuck while I, everybody out here nice high. Oh, but there are no children here. Did I make myself clear? I'll shoot you right between your fucking ears. Same with Chief Saunders and Obama. I think it's all a bunch of drama. You're gonna get run under because you're a bunch of wannabes. You're not fun on me. We did a through this. I don't give a fuck if it's ruinous. We're coming through. I'm doing this shit that you did. I claim to do. I don't give a fuck what it used to be. We not used to you, G. Big shots, nigga, rep your block. You ain't come back, can't best be holding your tongue to bloody north where the soldiers is from. City with
Rising even as the number of overall cases begins to slow. Many of the deaths are linked to long-term care facilities.
A private school in Oakville is donating 10,000 pounds of fabric to anyone who knows how to sew and wants to make masks.
More front office changes in Chicago.
You reinvented the fucking wheel.
Memorable 2015 season. Sports at 45.
I want my natives to make bandanas on the Reds. You idiots don't need to do it. You're not. You can order them from China. As for all the cotton swabs, what do you think those brown tips are? Every single one of them. A perfect cotton swab, eh? You people aren't listening.
This report is brought to you by
Your masks are going to say ON95. Ours are going to say native 95.
The intersection of Shepherd and the Allen that remains closed off in all directions. It's for an ongoing collision investigation. So
buy them off a crackhead. They might say nigga 95.
Looks like northbound on the Allen, you're going to be forced off at transit. Also had a call from a traffic spotter in the east end of the GTA in Ajax at Rossland and Lake Ridge. All westbound lanes are blocked because of a collision. Emergency crews are on that scene. As for the major routes, westbound on the 401, just west of Kennedy and the Collectors, the two right lanes are closed. That's all for construction. I'm not spotting any delays in that area. The eastbound lanes of the 401, they're in great shape as you head across the GTA. And Don Valley Parkway, Gardner, both those routes are moving well. You'll find the QEW lightly traveled both east and westbound. Essential and non-essential services, realtors, and builders ensure that your clients are confident that your space is COVID-19 virus and pathogen free. Guaranteed with WeCleanCovid19.ca. Book today at WeCleanCovid19.ca. And now with the forecast, here's Jill Taylor.
Everybody, this city's a hustler, man.
And just mainly cloudy through the afternoon. A gusty wind out of the west. Our guaranteed high 18 degrees. Gusts could exceed 80 kilometers per hour. For tonight, partly cloudy, windy, and 0. For today, a mild, guaranteed high 18.
Downtown right now, we're at 14 degrees and overcast. At Pearson Airport, similar conditions. It's 13 degrees and some light rain. 680 news time, 132.
Today's COVID-19 numbers are in, and while they are still staggering, it appears they are also...
Check your numbers, see if we won.
In the past half hour, it looks like Ontario is making progress in getting much-needed PPE.
Are we number one or not?
Ontario extending the Emergency Act by 28 days. 680 Stuart McGinn has the latest from the province. He joins us live. Stuart.
But today's...
CU stabilize at this point, but the numbers going up. 421 new COVID-19 cases today. It brings Ontario's total to 7,470, while there were also 21 deaths, bringing that total to 291. But in what can only be a disappointment for health officials, the number of tests completed has gone down, just over 5,000, down from the more than 7,000 from yesterday's data. While
yes, you're a couple thousand ahead. Shut up.
By Wednesday, and double that by early next month.
They're telling me they're on.
Doesn't matter how many you test. What are you doing with them after you test them?
Anything. We have everything in place. It's frustrating. That's what I can tell you. Very frustrating.
Oh, it just sounds like me. He gets frustrated at you dummies too,
deadline for ramping up testing over the next few weeks. Meanwhile, there was some positive news from the premier.
I think he had football and we had machine guns. And that's the
continue
difference.
to be delivered to the province. They're able to deliver 6.5 million surgical masks to 600 different healthcare facilities this weekend, including hospitals, retirement homes, and long-term care homes. Reporting live, Stuart.
Do your job and let the next man down the line do his.
Long-term care homes, there are currently nearly 100 COVID-19 outbreaks in long-term care facilities in the province. Seven Oaks in Scarborough has been hard hit with at least 22 deaths. Premier Doug Ford insists the government is doing everything it can to protect.
I believe you because I know the type of people that run these places, and I know what I go on here. I'm trying to kill off the old people like it's funny. So our old people, motherfucker.
Everything possible that we can. We're doing all testing. We're testing all patients. We're testing all frontline healthcare workers.
Ford also says the government is working to ensure those in priority areas and in urgent need get the supplies they need. He says there were shipments this past weekend of 6.5 million surgical and procedural masks to over 650 providers across the province to protect our frontline workers, patients, as well as residents.
680 news time, 135.
680 News weather alerts.
Environment Canada has issued a special weather statement for much of southern Ontario, including the GTA. That's because we're in for some strong winds this afternoon. Right into the early evening, we could see gusts of up to 80 kilometers an hour. 30 already right now, and that's before the winds diminish later this evening.
680 News Time, 1:35. And we have some breaking news from North York, where a two-vehicle crash near Shepherd in the Allen has injured 3 people. Toronto police say a police cruiser was involved in the collision. It happened around 11:30 this morning. Paramedics telling 680 News all 3 victims suffered serious injuries. One taken to a trauma center, while 2 others were taken to a local hospital. There's no word yet on the victims involved or if any charges could be laid, but police say
Where the fuck did it go?
in the area will last for several hours.
The city is opening up more emergency child care centers for frontline and essential workers. 680's Moment Qureshi has more.
The city is now opening 2 more emergency child care centers where Tory
Filter off
says
in the
to
jar.
help out the essential service and
What
critical
is that?
care workers who are on the front lines but don't have anywhere to send their children while they're at work.
One at the foot of Bathurst Street and one out the Danforth. And that's where the demand was coming from and where we had child care centers that we could aggregate.
Greenwood,
So
one
when
next to
there
the
are 2
liquor
more
store
open
and
people
the
are in need of this,
off-track
or if they
betting.
want to inquire about it, they can go to toronto.ca and have a look. But it's one more thing we're trying to do to get through this for our frontline workers who are doing such a great job for us.
Where he says the city has enough personal protection equipment for frontline workers to last a few weeks, with more coming in regularly.
One of the things I had to do over the weekend, for example, was to talk to the federal government because we had a shipment coming in that was tied up in customs. The federal government was great in responding to that and trying to get this shipment moving, and we sort of found out where it was. And, you know, we're in the same situation where we're not in a crisis, but we have a real challenge.
He says it's something they're keeping an eye on daily. I'm Moment Qureshi.
The death rate
Can
of
your
the
man get shit through
COVID-19
customs?
pandemic is expected to continue to go up, even as we start to see a slowing number of new cases in Canada. Currently across the country, there are nearly 25,000 confirmed cases with more than 730 deaths.
You dummies.
Hill reporter
You
Cormac
did this to
McSweeney
yourselves.
joins us with more.
While the growth rate of confirmed cases is showing some positive signs, Canada's Chief Public Health Officer, Dr. Theresa Tam, says she expects the death rate in our country from COVID-19 to rise.
A significant proportion of these deaths are linked to outbreaks in long-term care facilities. Sadly, because COVID-19 can have a prolonged course, these deaths will continue to increase even as the epidemic growth rate slows down.
The federal
Thank
government
you
has
for
released new
explaining it in
guidelines
terms
for
that even these
long-term
assholes
facilities
should be able to
around
understand.
visitations and workers, but
It's not going to magically go down. That's not how it works. Your math is so fucking far
to
off.
address issues around personal protective equipment for staff and pay in a Team Canada effort to get a better handle on this.
One less person
Meanwhile,
could get
the
sick
Agriculture
today,
Minister has
and
also
1,000
announced a $50
more
million
people could
fund for
die
farms and other
tonight.
food sectors
The two
that
things are
rely
not
on
directly
temporary
connected.
foreign workers. Those workers have to go through 2 weeks of isolation when they arrive in Canada. The cash will go to help employers house and pay the workers until they can get on the job. Cormac McSweeney, Parliament Hill.
Coming up, city streets, and we'll find out where the price is going at the pumps.
680 News Time, 1:39.
It's not moving. You already said that.
Thinks it's frontline
You
personnel
fixed this
and volunteers who are working tirelessly
price
to provide
competition
essential
between
services
Russia and
to
the
vulnerable
Saudis, and
during
all the
COVID-19.
storage depots in the world are full, so it doesn't matter what they do with their output, the price ain't going up because they can't sell anymore. They literally cannot sell any more gas. Where are they going to put it? Do you need gas?
Support our neighbors in
No.
need. To donate,
Neither does
visit
anybody else.
SalvationArmy.ca.
Even China stocked up on gas.
Sell Army.
And taking a look at city streets.
What's the tank is
Police
full?
have
It's full,
closed
eh?
the intersection of Shepherd and the Allen. That is for a collision investigation. That closure should last for some time. And in Richmond Hill, expect lane restrictions at Yonge and 16th. That is due to another crash. Now, the 680 News gas price update. Empro predicting the price will not change at midnight, staying at 77.9 cents a liter at most GTA stations.
No,
680 News
that's
Time,
the average. Again, it's not how math works. It's not most of them.
Slap in the face. Your bank refused your mortgage. Don't get mad. Call Northwood Mortgage. Northwood Mortgage takes a closer look at your financial picture. Property equity.
Most of them charge more and some charge less, and none of them charges the exact price.
Everything they can to approve the mortgage you need. That's their business.
Visit NorthwoodMortgage.com.
I'm here with Bill Coy of Coy Brothers, and we're talking Kubota. Not tractors, but skid steers and excavators.
Yes, sir. Kubota's known for their quality orange tractors, but we also offer Kubota construction equipment.
Tell me more, Bill.
Kubota skid steers and excavators are equipped with Kubota's powerful, easily accessible engines that deliver reliable performance, exceptional fuel efficiency, and less noise.
Hot diggity dog! You'll dig the amazing selection of Kubota construction equipment at Coy Brothers.
KOOYBROS.com.
680 News Time 141.
Time for 680 News, traffic and weather together on the ones. Here's Carrie Prenskus. This report is brought to you by CIBC. We have the continued closure of the intersection of Shepherd and Allen. It's shut down in all directions for a collision investigation. No specific word as to when it's going to be reopened, but police did say that it's going to be a while, so I would expect at least a few hours here.
Yes, sir. All these people are wearing masks and gloves now to hand out food, and they keep touching their face and touching everything, and touching the food, and touching their face.
If you rest the team down, know you'll set me high.
These people act backwards. They can't make me sick. Mo, chat mo, germaphobe. No, genocide.
357s and Mac 11s, keep stepping, cock your weapon and stop yelling if you rep 47. I got niggas in the front ready, you're ready to split you down the middle just like a blunt, so walk one down with me. The Lord will not forgive me for shaking up your kidney, cause you faking it Disney. My niggas nifty and shifty, missy, Billy, Iggy, Shiggy. We don't give up wiggy, what really, Millie trying to kill the city like crack in the 80s. I'm ready to burn in 80s, my doctor infected with rabies, not even my barbecue family. You niggas is crazy, fuck up fight and learn what they challenge do. You could be as cuckoo as you are, I'm unbalanced too. Fixing the garden, I'm coming to rally you, massacre splatter you, run you off of your avenue, while I laugh at you. The chronic are dizzy, demented Russians, my pigment, other appearance, igneous, run you up the district.
If you rep the team down, know you'll set me high. Big shots, nigga, rep your block. Best be holding your tongue to play off where the soldiers is from. If you rep the team down, know you'll set me high. Big shots, nigga, rep your block. Best be holding your tongue to play off where the soldiers is from.
See, this was the spy. 5 and 10 makes sense. 6 doesn't make sense. In a 32 pack.
Cash crops, money growing trees, just turning coke leaf to crack rock. Run the block, get a key and keep it padlocked. Business and animals, watch your dog, jealous rats talk. We pack gloves, you smoke weed with hair like Sasquatch. Fuck my niggas, dog, your son to think you out of a sandbox. Better yet, I crash your plane, spit on the black box. Because he's highly trained on cocaine, higher for that plug, we that hard. You with more clips is, for instance, the same equivalent as a fentanyl in the insects. Ridiculous. Most cats is sweet like licorice. I eat they food fast, smoke niggas similar to cigarettes. You dig me yet? Better catch me, burn the ass. I belong to burning fast, believe you colder than the Inuit. You rep the team, I know you'll set me high. Big shots, nigga, rep your block. Best be holding your tongue to play off where the soldiers is from. You rep the team, I know you'll set me high. Big shots, nigga, rep your block. Best be holding your tongue to play off where the soldiers is from.
I'm from the city where they keep it gully. Pretty niggas rapping out of city niggas, homie. Checking trees, spinning by the OGs. All we do is
Oh, that's
OGs.
perfect. That's perfect.
Small time like the little leagues.
That's how much I had to burn to know that that's perfect.
Turn like a track star when they fuck with me. Fuck shot, but I fuck
What's your
shots
problem,
on me.
man?
I pack the hollows for the cops on they. It's all real in the hood. They call me Asher Still.
Government rules
I make you feel still in your apps for real. Cook coke like a gourmet chef, perfection. See my dough flow stack up, erection. That's right, attention. Me getting love for hoes. Attention, we don't lie them hoes. Ladies spark the draw, double crack them all. Niggas don't want food cause they lack the toast.
Yeah, rep the team, I know you'll set me high. Big shots, nigga, rep your block. Best be holding your tongue to play off where the soldiers is from. Rep the team, I know you'll set me high. Big shots, nigga, rep your block. Best be holding your tongue to play off where the soldiers is from.
Drug shit.
We in the hood shopping, ain't nothing changed. So that I roll with, bang. My homies stay bars, throwing up fingers, sipping on some. We don't like strangers, dug in my blood from the very first day. Certified VA official, don't play. Go the other way, don't come around here. Catch you sleeping on me, leave holes in your gas. Big stacks to get that when I'm out on the block. If you fraud, I suggest you get back, get knocked. You're getting money over here, I don't know what you got. Cause the wallet got too big to fit in our socks. I'm a hustle hard way before I came out the box. I'm in the spot all day, even when it gets hot. Only when you see po-po, everything stops. And when the yo goes, then it's back over the chop.
We don't stop, we punch clocks and tip rocks like flash stops. Fuck it, if they say shit, we make them drop. I got hat, fucking
Step in the building, we alive, and it got to pop. And it's look, got clock, time to waste the water. If you stand in the way of my bitch, you're right. Better get that clientele, you're not. Ain't no motherfucking cage, I get it. Chopping, ain't nothing changed. So instead I roll with, bang. My homies stay bars, throwing up fingers, sipping on some. We don't like strangers, dug in my blood from the very first day. Certified VA official, don't play. Go the other way, don't come around here. Bitch sleeping on me, leave holes in your gas. I walk in like a president too. I got numbers like a Mexican too. I'm next to win too. I've been up on my grizzly. They looking at me like, who the fuck is he really? I thought I done told them. I got more momentum than a rolling. I'm poking, I'm promoting. Lock me in a coffin. I'm dirty when I kill it. Like a little fishy on the skillet. I'ma cook it, I'ma chuck it, I'ma skin it. I'ma eat it, I'ma finish, I'm a rider. Till the day I die, cause I'm all such a conqueror. Extraterrestrial, motherfucking monster.
Extraterrestrial.
Fire squad is the on the rods that I march with. I'm off in the black Cadillac in the Tompa. Hanging out the window with the bombs in my hand. I'm stepping up a black rubber band. We in the hood shopping, ain't nothing changed. Soldiers that I roll with, bang. My homies stay bars, throwing up fingers, sipping on some. We don't like strangers, dug in my blood from the very first day. Certified VA official, don't play. Go the other way, don't come around here. Bitch sleeping on me, leave holes in your gas. We in the hood shopping, ain't nothing changed. Soldiers that I roll with,
I just found out these fucking coffee cups are made in China. I didn't know. Probably made with Canadian wood though.
There's nothing you can do that make me run away from this clash, y'all. This clash, y'all. And there is no DJ can put the competition to danger.
4, 3, 2, 1, the slack is track. Glock 43, save for the package. They get their views up.
No such thing as a Glock 43. Okay, officer, relax. Don't cry.
I
read the wrong magazine article. I don't know.
The canvas. I'm ready savage. You know that's a work of art. Silhouette, my nigga slide when you wear the parts on parts like a hat that way. From the part that days with freezing with a card that slave. Don't watch my age, just watch when I pop my kids. I fought engaged when niggas wouldn't watch them ways. I'm not amazed to job. Talking Panthers, chop for trade. That nigga we just spot the place and drop the strays from the strap that I got in case. It's like a hurricane. The niggas gotta rock the place. So what my dudes now? It's like my dude they been doing now. When you start, get it like a U-Haul and move round. Kids got my music in class, spreading the schools down. The demon killed Jesus, get some king of the Jews now. A shot blasted was blasphemous. Get this peace off, Jesus went to Nazareth. You getting money, we gon' tax them all. We can slap it back and forth, nigga, like a racquetball. Bike crash, nigga still rapping when I had cracked my jaw. Got a new strap, see the body I can practice on. You niggas make this easy, cool keezy. Niggas disrespecting her set, she get TT. Couldn't take a shit on this paper, it's not TP. Broke a fucking arm, told me to drink green tea. I gotta couldn't wash these bags.
I got an AK in that husky bag.
See, that's the most basic. When I step out the matrix, try to give you a playlist. I put that on my handkerchief. I'm from a gang of Crips. Dodgy Kong when the banging off a banana clip. LL when a nigga get on that cannabis. Rust out whenever they beating niggas on cameras. We transport weight, it's grams. On the scale top, the word looks strong enough to bribe or have your bell bottom. Fuck house arrest and go visit you with the bell cops. You're not home, I promise that you gon' see what that bell does. From the projects, then you gon' catch your contact with a couple of slips in the rock till I you in the complex.
Here with these white wannabe niggas, I'm gonna kill them both. I don't give a fuck. They just gonna hope. Give me the telephone note. I don't give a fuck what you said. I'm gonna go home less and everybody's gonna stress. That right there, Jumper.
I'm right around the city with a sticky icky, no complaining, speeding, rushing, blowing trouble. I'm running out of time, I got that money on my mind, and I'm too out of social, mix it with the dope. I see these bitches stacking, man, these wannabe rappers talking shit, gee, I better take a note. On the come up, steady rising, some up, y'all be steady hiding, I'm colliding, slipping, sliding to your house. Low key, no piano. These rappers frontin' like they Lucky Luciano, but they don't know that I'm a goddamn god man. And when you see me, best believe I raid in black, that's Batman. I turn y'all into ghosts, eat them like Pac-Man. No games for you out in trash cans, no shame. You want blow, that's no way. That cocaine got your nose red like strawberries from show dice. I get money and sit back and post, man. Chill deep and for real creep on your dame. That heat leave you with no sleep and no brain. Then you awake with no sneaks and no chain. A black sneak getting shiggity. You know Ray, a fast life living, but still dealing with some slow days. What can I say? That's just what it is, dog. But I gotta get that money for my next of kin, dog. Right around the city with a sticky icky, no complaining, speeding, rushing, blowing trouble. I'm running out of time, I got that money on my mind, and I'm too out of switch and mix it with the dope. I see these bitches stacking, man, these wannabe rappers talking shit, gee, I better take a note. On the come up, steady rising, some up, y'all be steady hiding, I'm colliding, slipping, sliding to your home.
That was pretty close.
Booty on my hip. Damn, son, I gotta reload it like a gun. Timed them just for fun. They wanna see me with my hands out begging for funds. They ain't gonna see that shit cause I really make runs. They say that they gotta get the job done. And when my crew come, they ain't gonna say no more in the slums. They gonna be deceased from head to toe. They ain't gonna breathe no more. Ain't gonna see no tree. Ain't no more paradise down here. It's only hell or up. You won't get a chance no more down here. I ain't showing no fear. I gotta ride for my other side, and they gotta ride for me, cause they gotta say that they'll die for me. They gotta shine for me. If I shine on my own, then fuck, they won't lie for me. They won't lie for me. They won't die for me. I'm in this, but haters ain't gonna shine with me. They ain't shining with me because I put them all in the past. I told all these haters cut them off and all to kiss my ass. Haters don't love it, I ball just like Nash, saying that they want a ball, throwing bins in the trash. I'ma hit it up like fuck it, haters. I gotta see it later, like fucking adding up my stacks with the calculator, saying that they wanna brave something just like braver. I'ma be braver than you, probably be the first heartbreaker. I never broken hearts before, but I just might take you. Shit, boy, I gotta remix this shit like a bitch gotta read this.
And mama know she didn't raise no quitter. Just like a fan on Twitter. You know, just like a favorite child. So if you with me, get your goddamn man. Yeah. Mama know she didn't raise no quitter. Just like a fan on Twitter. Just like a favorite child. So if you with me, get your goddamn hands up. Right, listening. Teach you some listening. The ABS, TRH,
Just like my brother's birthday, I'm missing my work.
kittens. Blow your mind all the time, whether freestyle or written. Did you bring your mittens? Better grab a sweater. Smells like bird MCs, I'm roasting it. I'm not gonna be conceited, just trying to get noticed. But I'll do it regardless of whether my dreams are hopeless. So don't lose focus. No HD, do it for hip hop. So thank God for my ABCs, yeah. And still you know where I'm coming from. When the mic is live, you can call it troublesome. Damn, there goes another one, biting the dust rapidly. Call me your majesty, I took the crown so drastically. All those rapping after me, best to bring your A game. While I maintain the elevation of an...
Check out this retro siren. Oh, old school siren. I don't know what it's on. It's got to be a fire truck.
Airplane. On another level, recognize it's abstract. Sounds good, yo, Matty Hood. Bring the hook.
I don't mind sirens. Looking at them like they're just an audience.
You know I'm gonna get my props just like I'm carrot top. So if you with me, get your goddamn hands up. And I'm an ocean, raise no quitter. Now follow me just like a fan on Twitter. You know I'm gonna get my props just like I'm carrot top. So if you with me, get your goddamn hands up. Now we've all been through the highs and the lows. Continue carrying on with the rhymes and the flows. Keep your head held high and always stay focused. Make your magic happen and poof, it's hocus pocus. Like I wave my magic wand and make amazing happen. Ain't the NBA, but you could say I'm full court trapping. Yeah, I got this shit on lock and consistently getting better after each tick-tock of the clock. What do I gotta prove to get it through to you? Nothing in the way of the dreams that I pursue. Everybody needs one, cause once it's yours, it's yours. A wise man once told me that when it rains, it pours. Correct me if I'm wrong, but if I'm not mistaken, life's what you make it, and this world's mine to take it. So step aside, your reflection's in my beard. No surprise, my eyes got a THC. I'm an ocean, raise no quitter. Just like a fan on Twitter. You know I'm gonna get my props just like a carrot top. So if you with me, get your goddamn hands up. Yeah. I'm an ocean, raise no quitter. Just like a fan on Twitter. You know I'm gonna get my props just like a carrot top. So if you with me, get your goddamn hands up. Alright, well, if you haven't caught on yet, you should know that I terrorize like a bomb threat. Putting in work, my soul heart into every line involved.
We're doing a mark because I have to break those buds up to do it. I want to
give you a sample of what you can handle. And if you want to gamble, get burnt like a candle. The skill level's ample, my stampede will trample. It's Halloween and I got the goods. Come get a handful.
Figure out what I just did. I wonder all this extra weed laying around.
And then NASDAQ down by 25. I do want to highlight one stock, though. Shares in Netflix hit an all-time high today, right now up by 6.2% to $393.84.
Yeah, you already know what it is, man. Show only AP about paper, deep like BDS, Cinco. You already know what it is. Right now, I'm rocking out my nigga M1, aka Moolah, man. Boy got bars, man. Young nigga too, man. 17 years old. Getting it in, getting it real. You got bars, man.
Not just in hospitals, but in long-term care and community settings, where people most at risk are counting on nurses and healthcare professionals to pull them through. Nursesknow.ona.org to learn more. A message from the Ontario Nurses Association.
At BDO Debt Solutions, they know that life is full of unexpected events that can weaken your financial well-being. Many people who come to BDO for help had to go through tough times and take on debt in order to survive. If you're experiencing difficulty, a BDO licensed insolvency trustee can provide a free initial consultation and offer you services over the phone.
Why don't you give me a classic pepperoni 416?
And help you find a solution that works for you and your family. Call 1-855-BDO-DEBT to book a free over-the-phone consultation.
Regional weather conditions this hour: in Pickering, showers in 13, Oakville 14, and cloudy; in Markham 14 and cloudy. The News Watch never stops. 680 News is CFTR AM Toronto. 680 News time, 2 o'clock.
Like an hour to get to the beer store.
For breaking news,
supposedly.
This is 680 News.
I just want more money. I just love. You want this garbage? And I get it out of my neighborhood? Hey, you're gonna give me money? Good, let's do that.
I'm Irene Frecklin. Here's what's making news this hour.
They're empty, right? So literally turning nothing into something.
300 as Doug Ford has his say on testing being not quite where the province wants it to be.
The COVID-19 death rate will continue to rise even as the number of cases declines. That's a warning from Canada's top doctor, who says nearly half the deaths in the country are due to
kids are
outbreaks
failing
in
math the
long-term
last
care
2 years,
facilities.
and the teachers don't want to have to pass a math test. I
People to
got no
hospital with
problems.
serious injuries. One of the cars involved a police cruiser.
And the special weather statement is in effect for
Friggin'
the
cops.
GTA. Winds of up to 80 kilometers an hour expected. Your full forecast in seconds.
Brian Burke likes
I'm
the
going out
idea
there,
of an
man.
8-team Stanley Cup playoffs.
Why I
and
love this
NASCAR
station.
has suspended their driver over
Wake
an
up
internet
groggy as fuck,
incident
it'll
that
tell you what
happened
day it
yesterday,
is,
Sports
and what time
15.
it is.
After games
It's a
last
holiday,
week,
what's
North
open?
American markets giving back
By the way, don't
some
go
of
outside.
those gains,
Oh, yeah, don't
while
go
the price
outside.
for
Go over
oil
that
now
yesterday.
up by just 5 cents after OPEC Plus reaches that deal. Business at 26.
680 News Time 201.
Time for traffic and weather together on the ones. Here's Carrie Prunskis.
This report is brought to you by WeCleanCovid19.ca. Biggest issue right now is affecting city streets. The intersection of Shepherd and the Allen remains closed off in all directions. This is all for a collision investigation. If you're heading northbound on the Allen, you're going to be diverted off of the Allen all the way back at Transit. You'll be forced to turn around and head southbound on the Allen. And it looks like southbound on the Allen, you're forced off at De Beers, which is just before Shepherd. Delays aren't too terrible in that area. It is a bit of a nuisance, though, for some drivers. So just keep this in mind. Again, that's Shepherd and the Allen, fully closed off in all directions. Westbound on the 401, west of Kennedy and the Collectors, the 2 right lanes are closed. That's all for some road work. Doesn't seem to be impeding traffic too badly, though. And we have a new problem on the eastbound 401 on the ramp to Ritson. The right lane is blocked with a stalled vehicle, so watch out for that. Other than that issue, the eastbound 401 is in great shape across the GTA, and the rest of the major routes are all lightly traveled and moving well. Business owners, home builders, and homeowners alike, stop the spread. Ensure that your home or business is COVID-19 virus and pathogen free. Guaranteed with WeCleanCovid19.ca. Book today at WeCleanCovid19.ca. And now with the forecast, here's Jill Taylor.
A mild day for us today. The wind quite gusty out of the west. Gusts could exceed 80 kilometers per hour, especially for areas close to the Lake Erie or Lake Ontario shoreline. Guaranteed high 18 degrees. For tonight, partly cloudy, windy, and 0. For today, the guaranteed high 18. We've got cloudy skies at Pearson and 14 degrees. It's 12 downtown, and a special weather statement is in effect for much of southern Ontario, including the GTA, with gusts of up to 80 kilometers an hour expected. 680 News Time 203.
The Ford government is extending the emergency order for the province by another 28 days starting tomorrow. But the premier says there is a light at the end of the tunnel.
680 Stuart McGinn has the latest numbers from provincial health officials, including an influx of personal protective
yesterday we
equipment.
went to the 23rd, bro.
Stuart.
Irene, Ontario health officials say we now have 291 fatalities from COVID-19 and 7,470 confirmed cases. The newest data showing an increase of 17 deaths and 421 cases, but it also showed a drop in the number of tests completed, just over 5,000 compared to the more than 7,000 the day before, amidst promises of 8,000 per day by mid this week. And Premier Doug Ford not so happy about that.
They're telling me they're on target, and it's not from a lack of anything. We have everything in place. It's frustrating. That's what I can tell you. Very frustrating.
But Ford did say through all this, he is seeing a glimmer of light at the end of the tunnel. The good news is, during the long weekend, the province was able to deliver 6.5 million surgical masks to different healthcare facilities, from hospitals to retirement and long-term care homes. But Ford says we'll be watching those testing numbers over the next few days. The province has said by May 6th, they want to be testing 16,000 people per day. And he says he'll have something to say about it if the numbers aren't there. Reporting live, Stuart McGinn, 680 News.
680 News Time 204, and Canada's Chief Public Health Officer says deaths in long-term care facilities will likely continue to rise, even as the growth of overall COVID-19 cases begins to slow. The spread of the virus in nursing homes has been at the root of half of more than 700 deaths across the country. The Seven Oaks nursing home in Scarborough has been hard.
What was behind the other app?
22 deaths reported at this point.
See, more questions I didn't know I
He's
had.
looking forward, not backward, when it comes to protecting residents.
You can look in hindsight right from the get-go of this. We didn't well, a lot of things differently. I'm sure we could point out quite a few different areas, but what are we doing to move forward to make sure we protect these people? And it's all hands on deck.
Going to
We're
the
doing
Inquest
everything we
review
possibly can
that my grandfather
to make sure we
fucking
keep
shared, you
the most
motherfucker.
vulnerable.
Oh yeah, the name's out there, motherfucker.
Health Minister Christine Elliott says the government
The
is considering
80s. We've
moving
been fighting this
long-term
issue
care
since the
residents to
80s.
hospitals and retirement homes. She says the residents would have to be tested and then isolated in the new space.
680 News Time 2:06. Expect the death rate of the COVID-19 pandemic to rise, even if the number of cases starts to decline. That's the warning from Canada's top doctor, as long-term care facilities around the country also struggle with outbreaks. Currently in Canada, there have been nearly 25,000 confirmed cases and more than 700 deaths. 680's Parliament Hill reporter Cormac McSweeney joins us with more.
Nearly half of the COVID-19 deaths in Canada are coming from outbreaks in long-term care facilities. And given the projected length of this pandemic, Canada's Chief Public Health Officer says we should expect the number of deaths to keep going up, even as we see the total number of cases slow down. So Dr. Theresa Tam says federal officials have released new guidelines for long-term care facilities across the country.
Really emphasize the training in infection prevention control and monitor compliance.
They already know. They're doing this shit on
Fall under
purpose.
provincial jurisdiction, and at this time, the feds can't enforce these guidelines. However, Seniors Minister Seth Schultz says they're working with provinces to make sure staff have personal protective equipment and the resources they need, calling it a Team Canada approach.
Rather than coming at this in a aggressive way, we're coming at this in a cooperative way.
Meanwhile, the Agriculture Minister also announcing a $50 million fund for farms and other food sector businesses that rely on temporary foreign workers. Those workers have to go through 2 weeks of isolation, and this cash will help employers house and pay the workers until they can get on the job. Cormac McSweeney, Parliament Hill.
Housing people.
680 News Time 207. Thousands of people who make up the city's essential services.
Aren't they quarantined out on those farms? There's nothing out there. There's no money for the city out there.
Help for them is on the way. Here's 680's Roman Qureshi.
2 more emergency
Former
child care
Bob, the
centers
bug
are
suit.
opening this week. Mayor Tory says it's mostly for healthcare and emergency services workers who need a place to send their children while they're at work on the front line.
We put these provisions in place with the help of the province to provide childcare for them, 724. We had initial demands of about 800
Thank
people.
you.
and we've
Very
been
with
able
the
to
times,
accommodate
mister.
now 2 more of these childcare centers, one at the foot of Bathurst Street and one out the Danforth. And that's where the demand was
I know
coming
the one
from.
on
and
Bathurst
we had
Street
childcare
is.
centers that we could activate.
Mayor Tory says those frontline workers have enough personal protection equipment to last a few weeks, with more coming in regularly.
We're watching the consumption. We're watching the stockpile, as we're the inventory, very carefully. And we have supply that is coming in, and everybody's helping to get that supply to us.
Mayor Tory says he had to call the federal government this weekend to get some help because some of the PPE the city needs was stuck in customs. I'm Roman Qureshi.
Toronto police say a collision involving one of their cruisers in North York has left 3 people in hospital. The 2-vehicle crash happening at Shepherd and the Allen around 11:30
And the
this
cop
morning.
wasn't one of
2
them, right?
officers
So
were
all the
inside the
people in
cruiser
your
at the
car got
time.
hurt. That's fucked
Paramedics
up.
confirming 3 people suffered serious injuries. 1 person was taken to a trauma center. Police say the area of the collision will be closed for several hours as they continue to investigate.
Themselves.
And the GTA is in for some powerful wind this afternoon. A special weather statement is in effect for Toronto and the rest of the GTA. Environment Canada says wind gusts of up to 80 kilometers an hour are possible, as well as some scattered power outages. The winds are expected to die down later this evening. Coming up,
Power
we'll check the price of
outages.
gas and city streets.
680
we
News
got 2
Time
generators
209.
here. Yeah,
This
2.
is 680 News.
The Catholic secondary teachers of Dufferin Peel understand the impact of COVID-19 on our students who no longer have school, clubs, or sports teams to support them. That's why Kids Help Phone is there, offering young people free, non-judgmental, 24/7 support by phone, chat, and text. The
Support.
need is
Can you like
greater than
unlock
ever.
their
Please
iPhone and
donate
shit?
at kidshelpphone.ca to make sure they can always be there. A message from the Catholic secondary teachers of Dufferin Peel, proud supporters of children and youth.
The intersection of Shepherd and the Allen is still closed for that collision we've been telling you about, and in Ajax Church is shut down from Rosslyn to Harrisview. That's for long-term construction. Time now for 680 News. Gas price update. Enpro predicts the price will not change at midnight, staying at 77.9 cents a liter at most GTA stations.
680 News Time 210.
My name is Aaron Waxman, and in times of uncertainty, we can take solace in the fact that those that we care about, our family, our friends, and those in our community are safe and are practicing physical distancing and staying at home. At my firm, I've encouraged staff to work from home and to follow the guidelines to staying safe. I know these are difficult times, but we can take this moment to reflect on how much we have to be grateful for. I wish you and your family only peace and good health.
In times like these, shouldn't your money work even harder for you? We think so. That's why at Duca Credit Union, you get no-fee checking accounts. You also get high interest on deposits and investments, and low mortgage rates. Plus, you get to share in the profits. That's the Duca difference. And now we're offering 2.5% interest on your savings until March 31st, 2021. Find out how at earnmore.duca.com. Do more, be more, achieve more with Duca Credit Union. Conditions apply.
City News Time 2:11.
Time for traffic and weather. Together on the ones, here's Carrie Brunskis.
This report is brought to you by City TV. We still have this closure of the Allen and Shepherd. That intersection is shut down in all directions, all for a collision investigation. It's not going to be reopening for a while, according to police. So just expect a bit of a delay on the detour. If you're heading northbound on the Allen, you're going to be forced off at Transit. And had a call from a traffic spotter earlier, just giving a heads up to any of the larger truck drivers. You might want to avoid this area as best you can because turning around at the Allen and
larger
Transit
truck drivers of large trucks or large drivers of trucks.
As for the major routes, westbound on the 401, west of Kennedy and the Collectors, the two right lanes are closed. That's all for construction. Not spotting any delays, though. The westbound 401, it's moving well. Eastbound on the 401, just a minor problem. It's on the ramp to Ritson, the right lane blocked, and that's all due to a stolen vehicle.
Taking helicopters down with a little laser. And again, I'm holding bigger than fucking mega. Yaga, the liquor for the shot to make you stagger. For my little brother, cause like he loves my partners. Real bad boy, probably baby, y'all boxes. With this empire, it's nothing like rocks. These are enemy lines, nobody can cross it. I just love some rappers and in the battle with fucked up and stripped tits. 4 clips like a bitch's wig diction. Murder gang sick shit. Got me reading the words as my victim lip syncs. It's just same murders. Niggas know I'm running through the streets of beef like the Hamburglar with the burner. No food surfing. Yeah, still M3G reppin'. Yeah, I'm sitting in the vehicle, plotting on people. Taking your purse possession like a reaper. Kneeling with the hammer. Call it Tim Tebow. Holding on the hammer. Call it Home Depot. Everything I'm doing is illegal. Everything I'm doing is illegal. Kneeling with the hammer. Call it Tim Tebow. Holding on the hammer. Call it Home Depot. I'm at the bar ordering a Heineken. Waiting for the street to fall back. I was timing it. Frontin' them a double shut up, chat me run 9 and 10. MGK and Wild Boy. Nigga, we some wild men. Pop together life again. Rifles like the Irishman. Used to call me Ben Trent. But Charlie was a rider man. Niggas try to end me for the money. Call a fireman. I put my fucking flame up. Go ahead and try it then. By all means, do you. I'm creeping through the field shop of Zulu. Cruising in the Subaru. Murder gang crew punch dogs and give them bobos. You lose. Tell you what kind of like 2 shoes. Listen, Junior is easy to hire shooters to whack you. Right now, I'd rather smack you. Don't even attempt, I won't doubt you. Really, I don't have to. Slap the kids so hard, I point a wonder, call him Matthew. Subliminal. Murder gang squad in effect. I set it up to win my box. You block to follow my dialect. My number, you ain't dial yet. That judge ain't fire yet. By the end of this chapter, motherfucker buying it. That bitch holds gauges and a couple 45s in it. Catch a couple pieces, but I'll beat him if I'm hiding it. In the L spot, nigga, known for the kill shot. Cause I'm the nigga that shot Jack and chill out the hilltop. Lil Red Rider Hood was riding hood. The song blew her up now. She ain't riding through the hood. And Woody Woodpecker was a fag while Batman got chest and panties up for his pants. Spidey was a swinger. Wolverine's a nigga that's obvious, so they ain't gotta mention Master Splinter. More like Master Shredder in my mask. My dick will blast.